For years, most Rush fans believed the story was over. When legendary drummer Neil Peart passed away in 2020, it felt like the final page of one of rock music's greatest journeys had been written. The band had already stopped touring after 2015, and both Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson repeatedly suggested that Rush could never truly exist without their longtime friend and bandmate. That seemed to settle the question. No reunion, no new chapter, no future for Rush. But then something unexpected happened. Instead of moving farther away from the music, Geddy and Alex slowly found themselves pulled back toward it. What began as casual jam sessions between two lifelong friends gradually turned into something much bigger. At first, even they weren't sure where it was leading. They simply enjoyed playing together again. Yet the more they played, the harder it became to ignore a question that many fans had already been asking. What if the story wasn't finished after all? That question eventually led to one of the most surprising developments in modern rock. Rush returned to the stage with a new lineup, launching the 50-something tour more than a decade after their final show together. The decision shocked fans because for years, both musicians had sounded reluctant to continue without Neil. But here's the part many people still don't fully understand. The tour itself may not be the biggest surprise. The real surprise could be what comes next. Because hidden inside recent interviews are clues suggesting that Rush's future might be far more ambitious than anyone expected. There are hints about new creative possibilities, unfinished ideas, and opportunities that didn't even seem realistic a few years ago. And if those clues lead where some fans think they might, Rush's next chapter could become one of the most fascinating in the band's entire history. The turning point didn't happen in a sold-out arena. It didn't happen during a major announcement. And it certainly didn't happen because of a carefully crafted business plan. It happened in a rehearsal room. After years of uncertainty, Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson began spending more time together playing music simply because they missed it. There was no grand objective, no pressure. Just two lifelong friends reconnecting through the thing they had shared for more than 5 decades. At first, the sessions were exactly what you'd expect. Old songs, laughter, and memories. But then something unexpected started happening. The chemistry was still there, not just the friendship, the musical chemistry, the kind that can't be manufactured, the kind that made Rush one of the most respected bands in rock history. As the sessions continued, one question became impossible to avoid. If they were enjoying this so much, could they actually take it further? There was only one problem, a massive problem. Neil Peart was irreplaceable. No drummer could truly replace him. And neither Geddy nor Alex wanted anyone to try. That reality forced them into a difficult position. If Rush was ever going to move forward, they needed someone who could honor Neil's legacy without pretending to be Neil. For a long time, nobody seemed like the right choice. Then they met Anika Neils. What happened next surprised even them. According to Geddy, after playing together, he and Alex looked at each other and realized something extraordinary. They had found a drummer capable of taking on one of the most intimidating jobs in rock music. But technical skill alone wasn't enough. Many drummers can play Rush songs. Very few can understand why those songs work. And that's where Anika stood out. She approached the music with deep respect while bringing her own personality and feel to the material. Rather than copying Neil note for note, she focused on understanding the spirit behind the performances. Suddenly, something that had seemed impossible started to feel real. Rush wasn't looking backward anymore. They were looking forward. And once that happened, an even bigger question emerged. If this new lineup could successfully perform Rush's classic material, what else might be possible? That's where the story becomes truly interesting. As excitement around the 50-something tour began to grow, most fans assumed they knew exactly what it meant. A farewell celebration. A tribute to the music, a chance for Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson to reconnect with audiences one last time. And honestly, that would have been enough. After all, Rush had already achieved more than most bands could ever dream of. They sold millions of albums, earned a place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and built one of the most devoted fan communities in music history. But recent comments from both Geddy and Alex suggest there may be more happening behind the scenes. In several interviews, neither musician has completely ruled out future creative work. Instead, they've spoken about enjoying the process of playing together again and rediscovering the excitement that comes from making music. That may sound like a small detail, but longtime Rush fans know it's actually a very important one. Because throughout the band's history, Rush rarely stood still. Every major chapter began with curiosity. A new sound, a new challenge, a new idea. And right now, that same curiosity appears to be returning. The biggest clue may be the simple fact that Geddy and Alex are once again spending significant time creating together. For years after Rush stopped touring, both musicians focused on separate projects. Alex worked with Envy of None, while Geddy concentrated on writing and promoting his memoir. Their creative paths had naturally drifted apart. That possibility raises a fascinating question. What would a new era of Rush actually look like? It almost certainly wouldn't be a simple attempt to recreate the past. One reason Rush remained successful for so many decades was their willingness to evolve. From the hard rock energy of the 1970s to the progressive masterpieces of the late 70s and early 80s, and later to their synthesizer-driven period and modern rock sound, the band constantly reinvented itself. They never wanted to become their own tribute act. That's why many fans believe that if Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson choose to create something new, it would have to feel fresh and authentic rather than nostalgic. And that may be exactly what makes this moment so intriguing. For the first time in years, they have a unique opportunity to write a completely new chapter, one that honors the past without being trapped by it. The presence of Anika Nilles adds another layer to that possibility. Her drumming style is rooted in technical excellence, but she also brings influences and ideas that differ from Neil Peart's approach. That doesn't diminish Neil's legacy. If anything, it highlights the reality that every great musician contributes something unique. The result could be a creative dynamic unlike anything Rush has experienced before. Imagine Geddy's melodic bass lines and unmistakable vocals combined with Alex's atmospheric guitar work, supported by a drummer who approaches rhythm from a different perspective. That combination wouldn't sound like the Rush of 1976. It wouldn't sound like the Rush of 1981. And it probably wouldn't sound like the Rush of 2015 either. Instead, it could become something entirely different, a continuation of the band's spirit rather than a recreation of a specific era. Ironically, that approach might be exactly what Neil Peart would have appreciated. Throughout his career, Neil consistently pushed himself and his bandmates to explore new territory. He often resisted repeating old formulas simply because they had worked before. Innovation was woven into Rush's identity from the very beginning. That's why the biggest opportunity facing Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson may not be preserving the past. It may be embracing the future, and the timing couldn't be more interesting. The music industry has changed dramatically since Rush played its final concert in 2015. Artists now have more freedom than ever to release music on their own terms. A new project doesn't necessarily require the traditional album tour, album cycle that dominated previous decades. That opens the door to possibilities that didn't exist during most of Rush's career. Perhaps it's a handful of new songs. Perhaps it's occasional live performances.